And welcome back to Owning the Goal. We are in season 2, and I'm your host, Brian McFarland. And why we're in season 2 is Owning the Goal has reached up to its 28th episode overall. And the episode we just recorded with Marisa Mitchell of Hypothekids was just super special. And we hope you enjoyed it as listeners. And it was an advancement in the overall production that we've been bringing out to the fold since we started our podcasts in January of this year. So felt like a natural progression to season 2. So today's episode, you just got me. And what I want to do is tell you about a 50-mile ride that taught me a lot that I did this weekend on this past Sunday. So this was a ride from my apartment on the Upper West Side to Nyack, over the George Washington Bridge, and up and down Route 9W. It was my longest and fastest ride of the season. I have done a century before, and that it's 100 miles, but I hadn't done over the 50. And the gentleman who made this all possible is a very growing to be a very dear friend of mine, Patrick Curry, who I was very fortunate to meet through my life partner, Marisa. And he is an outstanding cyclist and just an incredible human being. So I had the pleasure of taking my third ride with Patrick, always a little daunting because he is an incredible leader, a friend, and an incredible cyclist. This ride, it pushed me. It taught me about teamwork and energy management. And yes, we also capped it off with one of the most best post-ride meals. I'll just say best meal I've ever had, period. This was at the Red Rooster up in Harlem. So stick around. I promise it's worth it. And I'll keep it real and I'll keep it casual. So we rolled out early. I met him up in Central Park on 100th and the park itself. We headed up north and our bikes were clicking. It was just the perfect day. Not too hot, cool, low 70s, I'd say. So we weren't overly sweating. And we took the road up through the city up to get to the George Washington Bridge, which used to be quite death-defying. But now the city, thankfully, has put a lot of money into it and makes it relatively easy to get over. And it's a commitment because when you cross over that bridge, there's really no turning back. And you have to be prepared for whatever comes next. So upon exiting the bridge, we rolled up Route 9W with long stretches, nice steady climbs along the way, uphills and downhills. And this is the third time this season I've been in Jersey, twice with Patrick, once by myself. And we rode faster than I thought we could. We were drafting, we were swapping out poles, one leading the other, calling out hazards all along the way. It was efficient and a little terrifying, if I can be honest, but in a really good way. Patrick, as the outstanding cyclist and person he is, he set the tone. He was calm, he was steady, he was decisive. And everything that followed in this share today really flowed from that. So I'll start with leadership by example. So what started as just a simple ride turned into one of the most valuable life learning experiences I've had. And I hope as Patrick listens to this episode, he understands the gratitude that I express towards him. He leads by his actions. There's no ego. There's no big speeches. He just set a pace that was smart and it was repeatable, definitely pushing me a little out of my comfort zone, sometimes more than less. And he was mostly pulling on the climbs, and it wasn't about showing off. It was all about keeping us together. And sometimes he progressed far, but then he'd drop back and he'd, kind of recover and then he'd pull again. So that rhythm, that leading, serving, stepping back. He kept us focused and moving. So I found that his leadership was mostly small, reliable choices. I wanted to model his behavior and do it consistently because that's what he kept doing and keep giving me just little tidbits of information. And we keyed in on, because I promised you, I'm going to experience one of the best meals I've ever had. I found there was cornbread on that menu, and that is one of my top 5 favorite foods in the world to ever eat. And I was about to have the most incredible cornbread that I've ever had. So Patrick keyed in on that. And anytime it was getting too tough, he mentioned the cornbread. More on that later. So we were riding, and then a pretty strong group sped by us, and Patrick said, "Hey, you want to jump on the back of their wheels?" Well, I decided, why not go for it? That's only the second time in my life I've ever jumped on and ridden with a group like that. So what I found here and taking my notes was riding fast in a group. While it was fun, it was also a little bit harrowing, but it forces you to be clear and focused. Very small signals, a finger point for debris, a soft car back, a tap on a shoulder, brief little directional comments that are very focused are all you get. Patrick's calls, he wound up being behind me, were short and exact. It built trust fast when the communication was crisp. There was no words wasted. It's the same way I think about it as work, where I am now, where you make almost your shorthand clear so that the whole team can move forward without guessing. Picking up those quick signals for you and your group and then using them repeatedly then just started to become second nature. So I looked down at the speedometer several times. As a group, we were moving over 25 miles an hour. At least seemed somewhat effortless, other than just really focusing on making sure no one was going to crash into each other. So it was really impressive. So it also taught me about energy management. See, I'm still recovering from the ride. So on those climbs, when we got out of that group and we were back on our own, sometimes I tried to match every one of Patrick's surge up those hills. Some was large. The climb percentage was over 11%, which I've experienced that many times before, but most recently down in Chile. But those last for like an hour. These were 15-minute climbs. Um, what I learned from Patrick was his approach was just steady. Maintain the cadence, avoid spikes, stay in the saddle, save the matches, if you will, to burn when you really need them. So don't burn out the legs. I kept being reminded, focus on just generally pushing on the cadence. And you had no choice. You had to continue to go up. But as grueling as it was sometimes, owning the goal and seeing the top of that mountain hill was what pulled me through, as well as imagining the aroma of the forthcoming cornbread. So I had to swallow my ego and ride smart. That's the big lesson. Sustainable efforts beat flashy efforts all the time. Sometimes I'm coming up on a big high school reunion year, and sometimes people say, remember the people that peaked too early in high school, right? Life's a marathon, not a sprint. So what we did was we found on those big climbs, finding a sustainable climb pace and sticking to it. Treat big efforts like investments. He kept coming back to me and saying, this climbing is what teaches you to get stronger and more powerful and more able to just continue on, through adversity, both on the bike and in life. So it comes in. What is a good partner like Patrick do in this case? He didn't just ride beside me. He made the ride possible. He saw when I was fading. He, He pulled a little longer to try and keep me there. And then he checked in, how you doing, without being dramatic. It was that mix of accountability and kindness, to be honest, that pushed me farther than I ever expected in a very short period of time to complete this 15 miles. It was the cornbread, of course. So I learned if you want to go beyond your limits, find somebody who compliments you and won't let you quit when you shouldn't. How many areas of our lives can we apply that little sentence? Find someone who compliments you and won't let you quit when you shouldn't. 1+1=3. Yes, there were miles and climbs when my legs wanted to tap out, but the choice was truly simple. Let discomfort crush me or manage it and move through it. Naming it helped. This is hard, but it's part of the climb. I was saying some daily affirmations while I was climbing. No curse words, but when you reframe discomfort, as I had so long to think about, I think the whole ride took 3.5 or total 4 hours after some long stops. So when you reframe discomfort as purposeful, getting up that climb, it becomes a tool instead of an enemy. So my legs became the power. So yeah, I was hurting. Say it out loud, but continue on. And we made our way back across the bridge and got back into the city, met up with each of our significant others, and then headed to the Red Rooster. And anyone who lives in New York City, or even if you don't, the next time you come to New York City, head up to 125th and Lenox in East Harlem and go to the Red Rooster. Trust me, this was the best part and one of the best meals I've ever had and experiences. So I went with my soulmate, Marisa. We met up with Patrick and his soulmate, Christina. And boy, what an experience. We, unbeknownst to me, Patrick and Christina have a long history with this place. He knows the staff, he knows the managers, the kitchen crew, the owner, and everyone in between. And he treats them like gold, like we all should treat each other. That connection changed the whole brunch time and early afternoon setting for just what was an incredible, wonderful surprise. From the moment we walked in, it felt truly personal, even before they got there. Once Patrick and Christina came, the host saw them and greeted them like old friends. Huge hugs, quick jokes, laughing, and brought us over to a table that had the perfect vibe. There was a jazz band set up, and I was concerned they were going to be too loud, but they just played at the perfect volume, so we didn't have to strain. And everything was right. I grew up in the food service business, and I always am able to find something that could just be a little different or a little bit better. There was not one thing at the Red Rooster that they could have done better. It was literally the perfect meal and the perfect experience, and I do not say that lightly. It turned the meal into an event, right? The server already knew what Patrick's favorite were. Unbeknownst to me, he had said something about the cornbread. And the second we sat down, not only did we have water, but this incredible plate of scrumptious cornbread with the special butter on the side came to the table. And I looked around and I thought, did they bring this to everyone's table? But they'd only brought it to ours because of Patrick's relationship with the Red Rooster. I'm still tasting that right now. And they already knew a few of the favorites that Patrick and Christine had wanted. So there was very little fuss in deciding. They helped us with our menu selection. And people were coming out from the kitchen to say hello, asking about the Michael Parsons trade and our ride. And they really, really, really cared and were so kind to myself and my soulmate, Marisa, that we felt like a part of the family within a matter of moments. We got many extras that didn't scream complimentary, but they just felt like genuine curiosity, generosity, like we were in someone's home. Small shared plates to start, a chef's suggestion that they've been excited about, and the kind of timing, precision where food comes out warm at the right time, at the right pace, so you can actually sit, talk, laugh. The band was unbelievable, and they played just incredible music that was just so perfect for the day. And the meal, I took much of it home, was so satisfying and so re-energizing and so soulful. I'll remember it always. And then to cap this incredible afternoon off and morning, I forgot all about the pain in my legs. We were brought to their downstairs area, which again, I would encourage everyone who goes to the Red Rooster to enjoy on Sunday brunch, to see a choir that had come in second on America's Got Talent. I don't know how they didn't win, because some of the most talented people that I've ever seen and heard performed music it was an experience that filled the soul and filled the heart. And in the trying times of our world and our country and everything, which is always constant, um, we were transported to a place where it was just all about optimism and hope and love and sharing and being grateful and compassionate and just being so thankful to be placed into this situation. And the top female vocalist led what was just an experience um, that was deep in my brain, deep in my soul, um, of just sharing and caring about all of us and teaching life lessons and just the incredible words that came from her incredibly talented vocal, both singing and speaking. And as she was about to begin what was their closing number, we heard the chords to the keyboard player, who it was just keyboards and drums, was on the beginning of Purple Rain, one of my favorite songs of all time. Uh, what proceeded to then happen, as Patrick gave me a heads up, and he said, "This woman, as I like to say, can sing the phone book." Her rendition and the choir's rendition of Purple Rain was uh, wherever Prince is and his soul is, was smiling on what the experience was like there, because it was nothing short of transcendental. I don't know if that's the word, but uh, you had to be there, and I hope you will be there. So sitting down after 50 miles with people who you just got to know, who cared about you, and seeing the relationship that had been developed with the Red Rooster, it made it feel like a homecoming, not just a meal. It was a reminder to me that when you cultivate relationships, the world tends to welcome you back in ways that matter. So I kept asking Patrick, I'm like, how is this all possible? And he said, I've been coming here very humbly for a while, but it wasn't about the amount of times or the lengths of visits that he's had there. It's about the depths of his relationship building with the people that ran and worked at the Red Rooster, that allowed this experience to all happen. That wasn't just for us, that was for anyone who had come to the restaurant that day. So building real relationships with places and people, this will amplify our wins and soften our hard days, because you know you always have a comfortable place to go, whether just in your mind, through meditation, through memory of a special event like that, or actually going to a location that makes you feel so special. So as we wind down here, I wrote a little mini practical checklist. So if you want to take some lessons or to share some lessons from this day, here's a short list that I came up with. If you're riding, ride or work, more applicable for everyone, with someone who models behavior that you want. Make clear, short signals for high-speed teamwork so you can operate on autopilot, if you will. Pace your climbs, pace those mountains. don't burn out too early, and understand the motivation you'll need to get up to achieve your goals. Name your discomfort, acknowledge it, and move through it with one small action, one pedal turn at a time. Celebrate intentionally, plan the reward. I had no idea what we were going to walk into at Red Rooster. I thought it was just some hole in the wall in New York, and I would have been perfectly fine with that. But it turned out to be this experience for every one of the senses that was just transformational. So if you invest in real relationships, if we all do, with places and people, those things will pay back in moments I can only hope you get to enjoy or have enjoyed, like that Red Rooster meal was for myself and everyone in the restaurant that day. So, in closing, 50 miles taught me that leadership can be low key and effective, that teammates do make the difference, and that managing energy beats short lived glory. It reminded me also that the right celebration, good food, good music, no surprise to me, and a familiar handshake and hug at the door turns effort into memory. I never thought at the Red Rooster of how hard the ride had been. I was only thinking of how joyful the experience it was for myself and everyone around me. So when you go out, try and whatever your ride is, do it with a partner, and or bring one of these simple practices into your next project. Own your goal, plan, endure the uncomfortable bits, and don't skip the celebration. I used the power of that Sunday, it's 2 days later now, um, to reach out to 175 people, and prospects and hopeful clients for my new job today. It was a direct result of the lessons I learned in what I thought was a simple 50-mile bike ride. So it taught me so much more than just riding a bike. So thank you for hanging out. It's again Brian McFarland, if you don't know that by now, from Owning the Goal. And we will see you next time. I believe we have Andrew Barbuto coming up, a recurring guest who I got to meet down at the New Jersey shore on Long Beach Island, fortuitously just a couple weeks after I bought his book, and have been learning from his studies and his support and his friendship. So look for him on an episode later this series, and see you next time. In the cycling world, we'll say breathe, pedal, and pass that water bottle. And always think about the cornbread. Thanks so much for giving us your time. We hope that you're owning your goals and learning and developing so much about yourself. Thank you for letting me be a part of your journey.